So this is where we picked up 2 weeks ago, actually. We just got in the red ring, which is solid, and we just need to load up on health and then make another run at the final castle. So that's what we're gonna do here, chat. So we get our shield, full health. We could upgrade and save and get another potion, but I don't really feel like doing it. So we're just gonna make a run for the castle, which is not this way. Yeah, right up there is final boss in this game. We got a potion, so I'll have to keep my eye on my health. But yeah, let's do this. So you get the Triforce, and then boom, it's fucking Ganon. And he's like invisible, but you can stab him. You have to look where he's shooting from. Is how you do it. There we go. Fuck. There we go. Get him into the red. Then you're gonna queue up the silver arrow. One. And then he explodes, and this fucking nasty like pile of red goo is left over with a Triforce just right through it. It's pretty nasty. I mean, for a kid's game, that's pretty violent, I would think. And it just left there, and you just stare at it. Like you can poke it a little bit, just a little bit, and the thing stops shooting at you for some reason. I don't know why. You can walk on the floor around here, but that's the end of the game. Then we come up here, and up here is our precious Zelda, surrounded by flames, but you have a sword that puts out flames, which is nice. And boom. That's it. That is the end of the game, presumably. Thanks, Link. You're the hero of Hyrule. Yep. We both have matching wedding Triforces, which is good. Finally, peace returns to Hyrule. This ends the story. Oh, and then credits. Okay. So we got the executive producer H. Yamachi, producer S. Miyahon, director, same guy, also 1010, designer 1010. I don't know if that's a name or a company. It's hard to tell sometimes. And another quest will start from here. So, and then they show that again, which is just really gross overall. Like, if you're a kid, I don't think that's child friendly, but you know, it's good, it's enjoyable. And so the quest starts over at this point. You basically get to choose your character, and which is, you know, my guy, and then you start the game over, and you start the game over like nothing. Like, you literally resets the game. Like, you don't keep any of your cool swag. You get to come back up here and get this like trial sword or whatever, and like you don't have anything, which is kind of weird, kind of frustrating. There's no differences in terms of like the bosses on the overworld, or the characters on the overworld, the enemies on the overworld. So like these are always spiders and whatnot. The castles themselves, so we'll go to Castle 1 real quick, if we can find it. They're quite a bit more difficult. The things I want to talk about for each game. First thing is the challenge of the game. And this one, I didn't really feel like it was super challenging. There's a couple places that were interesting, but nothing that was like, most of the times I died, it was because I was like punching above my weight class, basically trying to beat like the 6th castle after I've only beaten 2, or just being impatient. Like, I think you could do a no, like, I think right now I could do a no death run of this game. So I don't think it's super challenging overall. Kinda, you know, I had 34 deaths, so that kind of argues towards the opposite side of that. But at the same time, like I said, I think right now I could do a no death run of this game. Maybe not on the more difficult mode that I'm like playing now, but pretty easily on. Still can't. Oh, I guess that works. Yeah, pretty easily I could beat this game. So for overall challenge, it's really low. Ganon was hard to kill only because, like, you saw how easily we dealt with Ganon today. He was hard to kill only because I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know how to beat several bosses. Like, that was the difficulty, is just figuring out what to do, and that's not really challenging. That's just frustrating. Next thing I want to talk about, entertainment. It was mildly fun. Some of the bosses were actually pretty interesting for an older game. You had to figure out certain things. Like, again, it's not difficult once you know how to do it, but it was entertaining trying to figure out, like, through the thinly veiled, I guess there were riddles in the game, to try and figure out where you were going, which was interesting. And again, I had a little bit of experience coming to this game, so I had a general sense of, like, this is familiar, I think I'm going the right way. But overall, I'd say it was pretty entertaining. Not entertaining enough for me to want to finish this like second playthrough. Maybe entertaining enough for me to want to come back and try and do this like a no death run or something like that. But I definitely wouldn't linger on this game. Like, I'm excited to play the other Zelda games now. It's pretty much where I'm at on that. Replayability, pretty low, to be honest. Once you know the secrets, the challenge of the game is kind of lost in a way. That's exhibited again by the fact that the game essentially requires you to do a replay through the game to complete it, which isn't incredibly interesting. If there was an option to just start a game on hard mode or start a game on the higher difficulties, that would be way more interesting. Because now I'd have to like continue this playthrough to play the harder difficulties, which, I mean, I'll have the save and whatnot, so that's fine. But it would just be better if there was some sort of difficulty you could select at the beginning, or if I've heard that a Zelda randomizer is a really popular thing to do. That would be interesting, but in a more frustrating way than a fun way, I would think. So I don't think it's very high on our replayability. It'd be fun to do something novel like a no death run or something like that. Like I said, I think that's quite plausible in this game, but not more interesting than playing another game or something along those lines. And a speedrun of this game would be, I don't know, I guess it'd be interesting. It wouldn't be like the worst thing ever. Mechanics of the game are fine. Again, for a really old game, it's surprisingly easy to play. Like, you have really simple mechanics. The menu is easy to navigate. I feel like everything's pretty fair in terms of when you get hit with attacks and how you can attack and the different weapons you can use. I think the mechanics of the game are actually pretty strong. There's no real issues with like the camera or anything like that, because you just have this overhead for every single screen is what you deal with. There's not really anything else to it. So I can't really complain about that. Yeah, ain't enough. I don't know, I think the mechanics are actually probably one of the stronger points of the game, just because it's really simple to use. And I mean, obviously with an NES you have limited options to make it more complex or something like that. but yeah, mechanics are good. Mechanics really good. My favorite part of the game was Castle 7. I thought was really cool. It was definitely like a maze. The final boss ended up being pretty easy, but it was a really well laid out castle. I enjoyed Castle 7. The fights in it weren't they were challenging in a way that they were fair too. They weren't hard because they were like you had to figure out how to beat it. They were hard because there's a lot of enemies and it was technical, and I don't know. I like Castle 7 a lot. My least favorite part of the game was definitely, I guess, the non-linear aspect was nice insofar as I could go into Castle 6 right away if I wanted, or I could, just stumble around and beat the shit out of ghosts in this graveyard if I wanted. Which made it like this kind of open world game. Of course, I don't even have a nice enough sword to kill these guys right now. The open worldness of this game was nice, but at the same time, like, it's somewhat frustrating when you just. It'd be nice if my weapons just did like very little damage or something like that instead of just having no effect. Like the mages, for instance, were very frustrating because I couldn't do anything to them for a long time. So Castle 6 would have been really fun to try as like a challenge to try and see if I could actually beat it with like a shitty sword or whatever. But I didn't even get that chance to really. Anyone who's picking up the game, your master sword is located right here. I can't get into it right now because I don't have something. See, this is the kind of thing, like, there's a secret here, but I absolutely can't get into it until I get to a certain point in the game, and then it, like, unlocks. Overall, like, within context, I think it's a really good game. It's an NES game. It's older than, it's older than I am, I'm pretty sure. It either came out in 86 or 88, so it's either older or as old as I am, and it's pretty enjoyable. Low challenge is a game for kids. As a kid, I thought it was challenging. Now, not so much. Overall, I think it's a pretty good game. If you do it in context, I think it's a really good game, but in like a grander scheme, I think it's okay. It's pretty good. The ranking of the Zelda games so far, this is the only one I've beaten, so this one is going to stay at, 1 out of 1 as far as the ranking goes, because it's hard to, do worse than first when you're the only game I've played. So there's that. God, those guys pack a bit of a hit where you're upgraded. So, yeah, I think that's where I'd put it overall.